Comic book films have been absolutely huge for the past decade, and even longer. Some of these movies redefine the genre, and while others, well, they exist. But The Suicide Squad is an absolute masterpiece of filmmaking.
I'm the one who called you!
Rather than delve into a normal review that I would normally do by sitting in my car or in my room and just talking about everything that I loved in the film, I want to really go into what I loved about this movie, and why I think that it deserves more praise and certainly deserves more than that shitty box office number that it got this past week. Number 1. The intro. Unlike the old film, the new film actually sets up stakes and comedy perfectly. The first film fucking sucks because we have to have an introduction where they explain all the characters and then explain the mission about 3 or 4 times. In this film, we simply jump into the mission within 2.5 minutes. I'm not even kidding. We meet Savant, we know exactly what the risks are of going on the mission, we get to meet all the elaborate characters, and without knowing their powers or much about them, that's kind of the fun of the intro, is exactly getting thrown in with characters that we know, Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, etc., and then meeting new characters such as Javelin, TDK, and Weasel, which will just make the scene funnier, especially when you know what happens afterward. It's absolutely insane. But that's what it should be. There needs to be stakes set in place. If you don't have stakes, then what's going to be the fear and the tension of the whole film? With these characters dying, including ones that you know like Captain Boomerang, it actually shocks you because you don't expect them to die. They're unique characters, yes, and they're all introduced, all the new ones at least, all have something about them, like a superpower or a unique costume design, or they're played by an actor you love, maybe Nathan Fillion or Flula Borg. But just having that feeling that they're all going to be killed and that there's nothing they could do about it makes you know when you get to the actual team with the characters with more development, more screen time, more personality to them. You're going to find it hard whenever one of those characters dies, and this film lets you know right off the bat that anyone can die, including people from the past. And that's just the intro. Reason 2, the characters. Something I've noticed about most James Gunn movies is that he writes the movies around the characters rather than the story itself. The story doesn't necessarily need to be unique as long as the characters are lovable and fitting, and he knows how to work with all of them so incredibly well, despite all their differences in how unique and weird they are. I mean, shit, you got a giant shark and a guy who shoots polka dots at people? It's just already a weird film alone. I mean, King Shark is like the fucking epitome of a great character. He can eat people and fucking rip people apart, and yet you'll still be, aww, he's so cute, look how cute he is. And it's emotional when he says that he has no friends.
I know friends.
I have no friends.
And it's genuinely effective. James Gunn has done this with characters of his past, such as a talking tree and a talking raccoon voiced by the guy who was in A Star Is Born. And if you've seen A Star Is Born, well then, you probably know that that character also was a part of the Suicide Squad. You get it? You get it? Yeah? No, that's too dark. And it's not just King Shark. Every character in this movie is likable and enjoyable in their own ways. Let's go over some of these characters. Amanda Waller. She was absolutely terrifying in the first film, and she's even more terrifying here, despite having less screen time. Pete Davidson is basically just Pete Davidson. Peacemaker is one of my favorite characters, and not just because it's John Cena, but because they actually give him something to do, an emotional core, and being kind of the twist villain near the end. And it's very intense. I can't wait to see what they do with this character in his own TV show. Weasel, obviously the best character. Harley Quinn gets a badass action sequence, but also gets a very small but effective character arc. And who knew Flula would actually inspire her character arc as Javelin? And as much as I don't really like Jai Courtney as an actor, there was some funny moments, and it actually was a serious payoff to see him go so soon. And Idris Elba's Bloodsport. Surprisingly an effective character, but also who knew Idris could be so goddamn funny? And Rick Flag and Polka Dot Man, who probably have the 2 saddest deaths in the entire movie. I think that Polka Dot Man was such a weird character to bring in, but they made him so great, and they just improved Rick Flag in every possible way that they could from the original. And of course, Ratcatcher 2, who is probably my favorite character in the film, and the only character to have a scene that would actually make me cry. The reason the story feels more unique than it actually is because the characters are more unique than normal characters would be in these types of movies. The idea of a giant team of villains going to stop a giant threat somewhere in a different country is just a simple concept that we've seen before. It's kind of a plot of the first one. But the fact that these characters are so funny, unique, different, it is filled with murder, tons of kills, tons of comedy, and the way that it's done with the really heavily stylized action and music choices, it just makes the film feel new and not like some old rehashed shit that we've seen before in other films.
Kind of dog do you think it is, mate?
I'm gonna go with Afghan Hound.
Oh my god, is it a werewolf?
Yo, they sent me next to a werewolf! Yo, let me out!
Hey, he's not a werewolf, okay? He's a weasel. He's harmless.
Reason 3, team building. Unlike the original film, the brand new Suicide Squad actually has interactions between characters that are important to their character or to the story. Everything that they say and talk about is either used as a good joke so you can actually feel the dynamic between them, or it's used to simply move the story forward. I mean, I really just don't see anything in that original film where the team even feels like a team. Just in the opening alone, the first 10 minutes of the movie, we have a whole team basically get killed, and you actually feel more for that team than you do for, well, the whole team in the first movie. And they have 2 hours of development in that first movie, and they do jack shit with it. Here, it actually leaves an impact. That little interaction between Harley and Bloodsport was more than they had in the first film.
It's your mom!
Reason 4, the comedy. Say what you will about the first Suicide Squad, but I can tell you up front that it is not a funny movie unless you're watching it and it's unintentionally funny, like, I don't know, say this scene right here.
What are you gonna do? You gonna kill me, Mr. J?
What? Oh, I'm not gonna kill you.
Yeah, that's good, Jared. No one's gonna find this obnoxious and funny at all. Yeah, just hold that face. Let's take a quick look at a joke from the first movie.
Now that's killer app.
Okay.
Okay, let's try something from the new film now.
I don't like to kill people, but if I pretend they're my mom, it's easy.
The reason that joke was funny is because we know nothing about his mom at this moment, so it's just a really weird line that's thrown in there, but it actually makes you laugh. It's probably because this film actually has a talented writer. In fact, my favorite scene in the movie is an action sequence that's pretty much just one long running joke, a dick measuring contest between, Peacemaker and Bloodsport, where they basically see who can do the coolest kills while simultaneously trying to save Rick Flag. And it's fucking hilarious. And the reason it works is the great charisma of the actors and the comedy written by James Gunn.
I'm the one who called you!
Reason 5, the action. Now I know what you're thinking. What makes a great action scene? Well, a great action scene is something that can capture your attention while also being creative. An action scene is only enjoyed when there is a set mind of stakes involved, and some or creativity of uniqueness to it. Like The Guest. The film has a slow build-up, almost as if it's a horror movie about a guy or a stranger coming into a house. But then later it turns into an action thriller, and that's fun. Or like in Kick-Ass, when Hit Girl is murdering people down a hallway, trained gunmen. A dozen of them, quickly. The fact that it's just a little girl kicking ass is just kind of hilarious. It's what makes the scene so unique. That mixed with the really crazy over-the-top choreography, like when she reloads the guns fucking mid-air after flying them in the air and catching them, and she proceeds to kill 12 more men who just continue to miss her. The scene is memorable and funny, while also simultaneously being badass and having one of the greatest songs to go with it. Take a look at a scene in the new Suicide Squad. I say we look at the Harley Quinn escape scene since I believe this is the best action sequence throughout the entire film. Here, in this scene, we actually have stakes set up. Harley is being tortured and is about to get her fingers cut off. She kills the guy who is torturing her in quite a satisfying and yet gruesome way, and we lead to a very well-shot, very stylized, and heavy action scene, with many guns, tons of blood, and also cute flowers and birdies too. Not only does the action scene look awesome and has a great killer track of Just a Gigolo playing over it, which if you even listen to the scene, she was singing Just a Gigolo while being tortured.
I ain't got nobody.
It also sets up Harley's rage and psychotic behavior and makes her find the Javelin, which is her main arc in the entire film. The goal of the movie for her is, what is the javelin going to be used for? And in this scene, it's used effectively for the action when in its intended purpose doesn't come till the end. It's creative and continues to push the story and character forward, which is something James Gunn does very well throughout all of his films, including this one. And as you look through all the movies in the DCEU, it's honestly easy to say that the Suicide Squad probably has the best action out of all of these films.
19 years. That's my dad.
The heart of the film. I feel like I just have to do a video segment for the heart of the film section of this, because I need to talk about this without spending time on editing. I want this to be like, not a reason why the film is great, I just believe that we need to get into that. We've been talking about what makes this movie great compared to the first one, but what just makes the film great itself is that it's not just unique action, hilarious comedy, great gore, great visual effects, great characters, something different, team camaraderie. What makes this film truly different than that film, where I don't even have to make a comparison, is the heart of the film. The heart of the film is there throughout. There's everything that you would love in a film and need in a film to make it heartwarming. It develops characters minimally, but every character is charming in their own unique way, especially our lead characters. And I think each and every one of the lead characters gets that heartwarming moment. And I mean the leads as in Team 2, like the main team we follow throughout the film, which would be, of course, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, and then Peacemaker, Bloodsport, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Ratcatcher 2. With all these characters, these are the emotional, heartwarming characters of the film, the ones where they're on screen and you're like, I actually feel attachment to all of them. Despite that these people can be psychopaths or depressed or murderers, there's something in them truly that makes them human. That is what the message and heart of this film is finding humanity within you, or finding what is good in you, because there is good in everyone, even if you just haven't found it yet. In some people, there's good always. The main heart of the film is Ratcatcher 2. Of course, dealing with the death of her father is still hard on her through many years. He died whenever she was still like 6. She was still a little kid, and that's just tragic. I wouldn't say 6, she's probably like 8 or 9, but it's tragic in that story, and that is the heart of the film. Rats are the one thing that he told her that if they had a purpose, then so do we. If they're the ones who are going to kill Starro, that she has that emotional attachment to the rats, because the rats represent everyone as a purpose, including her and including the rest of the characters we see throughout the film. It's such an emotional and grand moment. And this comes right after another emotional moment in the film, which is not just Rick Flag's death, but Polka Dot Man's death. Polka Dot Man is a character that just sounds stupid on paper, but when you see it on film, it's played so geniusly because of James Gunn's writing. He's been called a bitch, a pussy, because his name is stupid. His power is kind of ridiculous. His costume is just polka dots. Like, that's a concept where you're like, that's funny, we can all laugh at him. But once you build his character, once you show who he is inside, he's depressed. He wants to just die. He has no purpose, he feels, in life. He kind of hates his life. He's been jailed. He is not considered a cool villain. Everyone hates him. Everyone treats him like shit. He has an interdimensional disease, or what do they call it? Is it interdimensional disease? A virus? Interdimensional virus that eats him away because his mom experimented on him. That experiments that she did killed his brothers and his sisters and friends and people he knew. That tragically makes him hate his mom, which is a great joke that I mentioned before, that in the comedic sense, they can make fun of it and work with it when it's for shock value, and that is very funny. But it also does put an emotional impact, like, everyone he sees is his mom, and he has to live with that shit. And eventually he goes like, maybe I'm not a villain. The ending of the film, when he's stopping Starro for that moment, he yells, I'm a superhero! Like, he truly believes, like, this is his purpose. He's found happiness in the fact that he's become a superhero. There's also the fact when Milton dies, I think they kind of hint that he might be a gay character, which would have been really cool if they did develop more, which makes me think maybe we'll get Polka Dot Man, like a prequel in the future or something to him, because it seemed like when he was going to say before he blew up the bombs, that he actually liked Milton. I think that he was truly saying, like, because I'm gay. I thought that would have been a great element. It didn't fully come through, but there's so much to him that you find relatable and very enjoyable as a character. That's with Ratcatcher, Polka Dot Man. Rick Flag, he's just so nice. He tries to help out everyone, even Harley Quinn. And eventually, when at the ending, Peacemaker is doing it for his own need, because Amanda Waller said that's the only way he's getting out, he does also believe that it's going to keep peace in America. And that's what he aims for. But clearly, all these could be excuses for his character. And once Rick Flag is killed in a very emotional death, because Rick Flag is a lovable character, it makes Peacemaker, like, saddened that he called him a fucking joke. Like, that is going to clearly develop more in the show, which is why I can't say his arc is fully redeemable or emotional yet, but I think something is going to be said of that. And Bloodsport has his daughter, as the little clip I put right before you're seeing this. I know this section's like the longest section in it, but it truly is to me the heart of the film, and I hope that this 5.5-minute section just truly speaks to you. Like, these characters are more relatable than just the Marvel characters I have on my shirt, or some stupid shit in Batman v Superman or whatever. This is genuinely like love for characters that are so weird and kooky by when you hear it on paper, but when you see it, it's just so well handled and so creative. And I wanted to make address that the biggest and most important part of this film is truly the heart of the film. Alright, fine. I'll fucking talk about it.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Guess who's back?
Alright, what the fuck? The music. The first film's music sucks. Just because you play 55 popular songs by artists you like doesn't mean it's good. The new film uses music to its advantage, which I'm not surprised by because James Gunn exactly knows how to use music in every sense of the way. I mean, duh, the Guardians of the Galaxy films, as well as Slither and Super, all having great music choices that fit the moment and the style of a film, without being overbearing like the first Suicide Squad. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the music.
I do not mind the rain sometimes.
I'll reiterate this one last time. The Suicide Squad is fucking awesome. It's a perfect film in almost every way. The style, the comedy, the direction, the action, and the heartwarming moments that it has. I just think that this movie's perfect, and I think with the ideal way that the comic book genre is heading, it is getting slightly stale and boring. And the way to keep it maintained is to give more films like The Suicide Squad a chance. Films like The Suicide Squad and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or Logan, something where that style is unique, something that's new. And the new DC film, and that's a surprise coming from me, has managed to do that. If a film can be unique and highly entertaining and do something that I don't believe most comic book films can, then I think that that's truly something special. And since I've seen this movie now like 4 times, I haven't gotten bored of it. And I have to recommend it to everyone. I'll reiterate my score is a 10 out of 10, but I'm not going to make this that type of video where I rate films and give you that great climactic ending. Instead, I would also like to share reviews from my fellow friends and family members, so instead of bugging you for the rest of the, I don't know, say next 5 minutes, I'm going to give you some other thoughts on the films from friends' clips that they have sent me, so please enjoy, and also check out The Suicide Squad in theaters because it deserves that money that it did not make.
James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, is the perfect movie, to be quite frank. 10s across the board. The plot, 10. The characters, 10. The score, 10. The cinematography, 10. The editing, 10. Shark, 11. I give this movie 10 out of 10. Please, please, please watch.
Alright, Zach wanted me to make a video for Suicide Squad, so here I am doing that in a hotel room. I'm in a hotel room right now. So the Suicide Squad, is a lot better than the original Suicide Squad, but so is like watching paint dry. So yeah, the characters are actually like entertaining and they don't make me want to jump off a cliff while watching it. And the licensed music actually like has some kind of point to it, unlike the original. And Harley Quinn still kind of sucks, but she doesn't suck as bad. She kind of sucks less as the movies go. Like Suicide Squad is like right here, and then Birds of Prey is like right here, and then the Suicide Squad again is like right here. So yeah, overall I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. I would hold it up on my fingers, but I'm holding my phone with one hand, so 8 out of 10.
The Suicide Squad is such a good movie. It's really funny, it has really good characters, it's really, really good with action, and and effects. It's absolutely amazing. The characters are great. They each stick out, and no one feels the same. Even though the whole point of Peacemaker was to be a carbon copy, but he's absolutely great. The acting is great. Oh my god, it's so bloody and gory. I hate that stuff normally, but I got used to it. Overall, 11 out of 10. Definitely go watch it, unless you're squeamish. But even then, give it a shot.
No, I don't think I will.
Hi, how are you guys? Ignore the fact that I look like the Hulk's cousin right now. I'm just gonna get my review through for Suicide Squad 2021. I thought the characters were well built. All the main characters had their first share of screenplay. I thought the cinematics were really good as well. The cinematography was really well done. I have nothing but, great news for this movie. I just really feel like it was a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It blew my expectations off the roof. There we go.